going on YouTube? Sit back, late night reacts, cause oh yeah, tomorrow I take an exam. Hopefully I pass that, which I study for. I'm still studying right now for getting enough studying, but I'm do some late night reacts. And Camille, good mangonada. I ain't gonna lie, that hoe hitting. See, chug. The fuck? To the NBA bubble. Let's see if this jump.
The 2020 NBA season was the strangest and most challenging in NBA history. The preseason started in September of 2019, and the last game of the finals was played on October 11th, 2020, 377 days after the first preseason game, which made it the longest season of all time. But it wasn't just the longest. It was marked by scandals, devastating losses, and uncertainty. First, there was the Daryl Morey scandal in early October. In January, the NBA mourned the loss of David Stern. Not even a month later, the whole world cried after the tragedy of Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna. In March, the NBA and the rest of the sports world were suspended indefinitely due to the pandemic until it finally resumed on July 30th in the Orlando bubble. During the bubble, amid all the testing and unprecedented protocols, there was a player boycott due to social injustices. The whole season was in jeopardy once again. But in the end, basketball won. Vince Carter broke multiple longevity records. LeBron and Russ made history, becoming the first players to notch triple-doubles against every NBA team. We saw one of the greatest duels in playoff history, with Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray trading clutch buckets and 50-point games. Luka went crazy with one of the best game winners of all time.
Bang! Bang! It's good! Doncic wins the game at the buzzer!
The Joker and the Nuggets came back from a 3-1 deficit twice, while Miami and the best barista in the bubble showed the power of the Heat culture. And when the dust settled, the best team won, with LeBron James trying to add to his case as the greatest of all time. This is the story of the 2020 NBA season, the Orlando bubble, and the most unique season in NBA history. After the Raptors won the 2019 title, the NBA had a wild offseason. The Finals MVP, Kawhi Leonard, held franchises and free agents hostage.
I can't remember in the last decade so many different people in the NBA trying like heck to get information and not being able to.
Until he finally decided to join the Clippers, along with Paul George.
Paul is always a player that I wanted to play with.
Who got traded from Oklahoma for SGA and a plethora of picks. The Lakers finally landed Anthony Davis after months of pursuit. KD and Kyrie joined forces in Brooklyn, despite Durant's Achilles injury, while Russell Westbrook got traded for Chris Paul, reuniting with James Harden in Houston. In one of the most hyped draft classes ever, Zion Williamson was selected first overall by the Pelicans, Ja Morant went second to Memphis, while RJ Barrett got picked third by the Knicks. Darius Garland, Tyler Hero, and Jordan Poole were also selected in a class that proved rather underwhelming, despite plenty of quality rotation players. But as the players and teams were getting ready for the season, on October 4th, 2019, Daryl Morey became the biggest story in sports. Morey, the Rockets GM, tweeted in support of the Hong Kong protests against China. drawing criticism from the league, the Rockets owner, and several high-profile players, including LeBron James.
But I believe he wasn't educated on the situation at hand.
The backlash from China was so severe that it resulted in roughly a $400 million loss for the NBA, the suspension of Chinese partnerships with the Houston Rockets, and a total blackout of Rockets games by Chinese broadcasters. However, when the games started, the Morey scandal was soon forgotten amid a plethora of interesting storylines around the league. On October 23rd, Kyrie Irving set the record for most points in a debut game with a new team, scoring 50 for the Nets against Minnesota. And on the next day, Vince Carter became the first player in NBA history to play 22 seasons. And in January, Vinsanity became the first and only player to have played in 4 different decades. Anthony Davis broke the record for the most free throws made in a quarter with 18, while James Harden set a new record for most free throws without a miss with 24. Giannis and the Bucks continued their great form from the previous year and were on pace to win 70 games with a 35-6 record after the first half of the season. In the West, a new partnership of LeBron and AD proved to be successful from the start, as the Lakers were comfortably leading the West ahead of the Nuggets and the Clippers. But on the first day of the new decade, the NBA family suffered a tragic loss.
I'm Maggie Newland at the Breaking News Desk tonight. Former NBA Commissioner David Stern has died.
After David Stern died at the age of 77 due to a brain hemorrhage sustained a few weeks prior.
The bitter part of it is we lost a great visionary.
For the remainder of the season, all 30 teams wore a black stripe on the left side of their jerseys in memory of Stern. On January 25, 2020, LeBron moved past Kobe Bryant for third on the NBA all-time scoring list in a game against Philadelphia, Kobe's hometown.
And there it is. He just became the third leading scorer in NBA history.
Little did LeBron and everyone else know that just 12 hours after he passed Kobe in scoring, Kobe would board the last flight of his life.
Breaking news in this Sunday afternoon, 5-time NBA champion, former league MVP, Kobe Bryant died.
On January 26th, Kobe and his 13-year-old daughter Gianna and 6 other passengers died in a helicopter crash in Calabasas. Bryant's death sent shockwaves throughout the NBA world, and in subsequent games, NBA players played tribute by dribbling through the 24-second shot clock violation and the 8-second backcourt violation, referencing the 2 numbers Bryant wore during his career.
Great appreciation for Kobe Bryant and all he did for the league and everybody in the NBA.
The following game between the Lakers and the Clippers at Staples Center was postponed out of respect to Bryant, and instead, the Lakers organized a commemoration for Kobe and Gianna, with several memorable speeches from NBA players, including Michael Jordan.
When Kobe Bryant died, a piece of me died. And as I look in this arena and across the globe, a piece of you died.
All right, Opera GX, say less. Dude, this game is so fun.
Crazy.
The NBA also renamed the NBA All-Star Game MVP Award to the Kobe Bryant Most Valuable Player Award, with Kawhi Leonard as the inaugural recipient. Leonard was part of LeBron's team against Team Giannis, with James and Giannis serving as captains, as the leading vote-getters in each conference. This was the first of 4 NBA All-Star games to use the Elam ending, with a target score of plus 24 points for whichever team was leading after 3 quarters, in another effort to remember Kobe. Giannis' team led 133 to 124 after 3 quarters, which meant the target score was 157 with no shot clock. Anthony Davis scored the final point for Team LeBron on the second of 2 free throws to win the game 157 to 155. In an all-star format that was finally competitive after many forgettable all-star Sundays. Buddy Hield became the new three-point champion, while Derrick Jones Jr. defeated Aaron Gordon in a spectacular dunk contest. When the season returned, the Lakers kept rolling, winning 13 of 16 games in February and March, including wins over the Bucks and the Clippers, the 2 other title contenders. But then, just a few days later, the NBA League and the world experienced something unprecedented. On March 11th, 2020, the game between the Jazz and the Thunder was abruptly postponed shortly before tip-off.
The fans here in the arena don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on.
After it was discovered that Rudy Gobert tested positive for COVID-19. That same evening, the game between the Pelicans and the Kings was also postponed at the last minute, after it was discovered that referee Courtney Kirkland had worked a Utah Jazz game just 2 days earlier. Upon hearing the news, the NBA suspended the remainder of the 2019-2020 season until further notice.
this astounding and unprecedented story continues to evolve. NBA is suspending the season.
The following week, Gobert's teammate Donovan Mitchell also tested positive, along with Houston's Christian Wood and 4 Nets players, including Kevin Durant. As the world was learning about the virus, the season was in jeopardy, and all players were sent home to quarantine. Over the next 2 months, the only basketball that anybody could watch was from the 90s, as Netflix started streaming the extremely popular Last Dance. But then, in late May, Adam Silver delighted fans around the world, announcing that the NBA would finish the season at Walt Disney World's ESPN Wide World of Sports complex in Orlando.
What we've come up with now is playing without fans for the time being at a single site, and that would be in Orlando, Florida, at Disney Wide World of Sports complex.
On June 4th, the NBA Board of Governors approved a plan to restart the season on July 31st in Orlando. Under this plan, 13 Western Conference teams and 9 Eastern Conference teams, all clubs within 6 games of a playoff spot, would play 8 regular season seeding games. Also, this gave birth to the play-in, with play-in games scheduled for the 8th seed in each conference, but only if the 9th seed finishes the regular season within 4 games of the 8th seed. On June 16, 2020, the NBA released a medical protocol to be used during the season restart in the NBA bubble at Walt Disney World to ensure the health and safety of players, coaches, officials, and staff. Players began practicing at their respective home facilities on June 16th, and on July 7th, the players and team staff began arriving at the Orlando bubble. Once teams arrived in Orlando, everyone was required to undergo 2 PCR tests to be cleared from quarantine and were tested regularly afterward, while wearing face masks and maintaining social distancing. The NBA also set up an anonymous hotline for players to report protocol violations while in the bubble. Only 4 players were cited for violating the rules of the bubble: Richaun Holmes, Bruno Caboclo, Daniel House, and Lou Williams, whose trip to the famous Atlanta strip club earned him a new nickname, Lemon Pepper Lou. Players were not required to join the bubble, and at least 10 players declined to join their teams, including Kyrie Irving and the Lakers guard Avery Bradley. Irving refused to participate due to his desire to focus on ongoing social justice issues, while Bradley opted out due to his 6-year-old son battling a respiratory illness. But the majority of players did decide to play, and to set up the bubble and save the season, the NBA invested nearly $200 million. After a 3.5-month hiatus, the NBA finally resumed on July 30th, with each team set to play 8 games, which served as the seeding games and the tune-up for the playoffs. The clear-cut winner of the seeding games was the Phoenix Suns, who went a perfect 8-0 behind Devin Booker, who averaged 30.5 points. But despite the win streak, the Suns failed to make the playoffs. TJ Warren of the Pacers went on a similar run, earning him the nickname Bubble Warren due to 4 games in which he scored over 30 points, including a 53-point game against the Sixers. Luka Doncic recorded his 17th triple-double of the season, clinching his spot as the youngest player to ever lead the NBA in triple-doubles in a season. But if there was one player better than Luka, Warren, and Booker, it was Damian Lillard. Dame was undoubtedly the MVP of the seeding games, averaging 36.8 points, including a 61-point game against the Mavs that secured a play-in game for the Blazers, and was also the highest-scoring game of the entire season. Lillard also became the first player since Wilt Chamberlain to score 60-plus points 3 times in a season. The play-in was not required in the East because 8th place Orlando finished 7 games ahead of 9th place Washington. But the Blazers had to defeat the Grizzlies to make the playoffs, and they did, winning the first ever play-in game 126-122, thanks to a 60 combined points from their star backcourt of Lillard and McCollum. After 22 consecutive years of making the playoffs, the Spurs missed the postseason for the first time since they drafted Tim Duncan in 1997. With 34.3 points per game, James Harden led the NBA in scoring for a 3rd consecutive year, while LeBron led the NBA in assists for the first time, with 10.2 dimes per game. Mitchell Robinson of the Knicks shot 74% from the field for the season, which broke Wilt Chamberlain's all-time record for shooting efficiency in a season. Giannis Antetokounmpo won his 2nd straight MVP award ahead of LeBron and Harden, and the Greek Freak was also named the Defensive Player of the Year in front of Anthony Davis and Rudy Gobert. This marked the first time since Hakeem Olajuwon in 1994 that the same player won both awards in the same season, and Giannis was only the 5th player overall to win both awards, joining Jordan, Olajuwon, David Robinson, and Kevin Garnett.
Not that you should be doing that.
Here goes again, bro.
Ja Morant was 1 vote shy of becoming the unanimous Rookie of the Year, while Montrezl Harrell won the award for the best 6th man, and Brandon Ingram became the most improved player. The playoffs started on August 17th, and the first round of the bubble playoffs might have been the most entertaining first round in NBA history, at least in the Western Conference. The #1 seeded Lakers didn't start the bubble experience well, going 3-5 in the seeding games, and dropping the first game against the Blazers, who had to fight tooth and nail just to make the postseason. But for the rest of the series, LA dominated with their size, playing two traditional big men, JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard, next to Anthony Davis, and the Blazers had no answer for it. In Game 4 of the series, which was played on the 24th of August, the numbers that the late Kobe Bryant wore, when Kentavious Caldwell-Pope scored with 4:58 left in the first quarter, the score read Trailblazers 8, Lakers 24. Eventually, the Lakers defeated the Blazers in 5 games, with AD averaging 30 points on 57% shooting, while LeBron James shot 60% and averaged a triple-double of 27, 10, and 10. The Rockets needed 7 games to get past the Thunder, led by Chris Paul, Dennis Schroeder, and young Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was in just his second season. Houston played 4 games without Russell Westbrook, who was nursing a quad injury, but they still had James Harden, who averaged 30 points and 8 assists, despite phenomenal defense by Lou Dort, who is built like a tank and is quick enough to follow Harden's every move like his shadow. Dort nearly became a hero, scoring 30 points in Game 7, while limiting the Beard to only 17 on poor shooting. But the Rockets escaped with a 104-102 victory and advanced to the second round. In Game 1 against the Nuggets, Utah's Donovan Mitchell scored 57 points, which was the third highest point total in NBA playoff history. But the Nuggets had 6 players score in double figures and survived Mitchell's avalanche, winning 135-125. But Utah regrouped and obliterated the Nuggets in the next 2 games, winning by 19 in Game 2 and by 37 in Game 3, which was a prelude to arguably the most fun scoring duel in NBA history, reminiscent of Allen Iverson and Vince Carter's clash from 2001. In a tight game, Mitchell and Jamal Murray went bucket for bucket all game long, and Spida finished with 51 points, while Jamal added 50 in a close 129-127 victory for the Jazz. It was the first time ever that 2 players scored 50 points in a playoff game. But the heroics weren't done there. Murray dropped 42 in Game 5 and then had another 50-point game in Game 6 to tie the series. Finally, in Game 7, defenses locked in, and neither team got past 80 points. After averaging 115 in the first 6 games, both teams shot below 40% from the field. And in another close game, Jokic led the Nuggets to an 80-78 victory with 30 points, and Denver became just the 12th team to overcome a 3-1 series deficit. However, the biggest hero of the first round wasn't Jokic, nor Murray, nor Mitchell. It was Luka Doncic, who appeared in his first NBA playoffs, dazzling the world with a spectacular array of off-balance Euro steps, floaters, and step-backs. The LA Clippers were heavy favorites for the title, and everyone expected they'd make mincemeat out of the Mavericks, especially after Kristaps Porzingis went down with an injury in Game 3. But then, in Game 4, Luka played a game for the ages, finishing with a monster triple-double of 43 points, 17 rebounds, and 13 assists, including this insane step-back for the win.
Bang! Bang! It's good! Doncic wins the game at the buzzer!
Luka became the youngest player to hit a game-winning buzzer beater in the playoffs, one of only 3 players to make 40-plus points, 15-plus rebounds, and 10-plus assists in a playoff game, and the first Dallas Maverick to have a triple-double in the playoffs. The Clippers changed multiple defensive styles against Doncic, with several primary defenders, with blitzing, doubling, chasing Luka to the three-point line, and still nothing helped. Even when guarded by Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, Luka's brilliant change of pace and savant understanding of angles and basketball geometry, paired with excellent vision and passing ability, made the Slovenian wonder kid unstoppable.
If they get past the Clippers, everyone might be in trouble.
However, despite Luka's brilliance, the Clippers were far more talented. And in Game 5, they punished the Mavs with 154 points, which was the 3rd highest scoring game in playoff history. In Game 6, Doncic had another great game with 38, 9, and 9, but it wasn't enough, and the Clippers advanced. In the East, the first round offered much less excitement. Boston swept the Sixers, who played without the injured Ben Simmons, and couldn't make the series interesting despite Embiid averaging 30 points per game. Miami swept the Pacers, and the Raptors did the same against the Kyrie-less Nets, while Giannis and the Bucks needed 5 games to get past the Magic. But the series between Milwaukee and Orlando would be remembered forever, because before the deciding Game 5, the Bucks and the Magic decided to go on strike and not play the game to bring attention to the police shooting of Jacob Blake, a 29-year-old black man in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Our focus today cannot be on basketball.
Blake's passing was just one of the incidents that happened during the time, along with the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor.
This is so hard, just keep watching it.
After George Floyd was killed by a police officer in May of 2020, the Black Lives Matter logo was displayed on NBA courts during the 2020 playoffs, And when the NBA restarted the season, players knelt during the national anthem, with each player wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt. But after the incident with Jacob Blake, the players from all teams decided to join the Bucks and the Magic in protest of police brutality and support BLM.
I think it's best for me to support the players and just not be here tonight.
And for the next 24 hours, the NBA season was in jeopardy once again, with the Lakers and the Clippers voting to leave the bubble with the season unfinished. But in an unprecedented turn of events, players consulted with many people whether to leave the bubble, including Barack Obama and Michael Jordan, who joined via conference calls. Have you ever wondered how
these ads?
Ultimately, after many discussions, the players decided to keep playing and continue the season. And even though they almost left the bubble, the Lakers showed up for Game 1 of the second round against the Rockets. But they couldn't solve the James Harden equation, as the Beard bullied every defender en route to 36 points and a Game 1 win for the Rockets. But then Coach Frank Vogel made an adjustment, playing Anthony Davis almost exclusively at center, which made the Lakers' defense more switchable and more mobile against Harden's drives. The other tactic they employed was the decision to completely ignore Russell Westbrook's jump shot, and both decisions proved to be correct. The Lakers won the next 4 games and advanced to the conference finals, with Russ shooting just 42% from the field and 25% for 3 in the series, limiting Houston to just 103 points per game compared to 118 in the regular season. The other semifinals also seemed to be pretty straightforward. After the Clippers took a 3-1 series lead against Denver with a 13-point lead late in the third quarter of Game 5, the Nuggets had just a 0.2% chance to win the series at that point. But somehow, they turned the game around and kept the series alive. However, in Game 6, it again looked like it was all over for the Nuggets, as the Clippers held a 19-point lead in the third quarter. Once again, Denver came back, outscoring LA by 29 points in the second half to force a Game 7. And then, in the deciding contest, the Clippers once again built a double-digit lead, only to completely fall apart and lose the game, thanks to a 40-point game by Murray and a monster triple-double by the Joker.
The Denver Nuggets snatched their heart, and then they snatched their soul.
Kawhi Leonard and Paul George especially disappeared in the clutch of each of the last 4 games, including an atrocious 0-for-11 shooting in the fourth quarter of Game 7.
And he flat out choked. There is no way around this.
It was one of the biggest choke jobs in NBA history, which illustrated the poor chemistry the team had all season and gave Paul George a bunch of new nicknames, including Pandemic P and Way Off P.
Well, you can't be calling yourself Playoff P and lose all the time.
In the East, the biggest surprise and the biggest disappointment were the Milwaukee Bucks, who finished the regular season with the best record in the NBA. Just like the Raptors did in the 2019 playoffs, the Heat formed a wall to stop Giannis, and it looked like Milwaukee's coach Budenholzer hadn't learned from his mistakes. The Bucks had no plan B, and with great defense by Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, who neutralized Giannis, Milwaukee had very few reliable options outside.
Hold on. Give me 1 second, y'all.
to Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez. By forcing Giannis to become a jump shooter and sealing off the paint, Miami took a 3-0 series lead, with Giannis shooting 3 for 19 outside the paint across the first 3 games. Furthermore, the Bucks defense kept the same philosophy from the regular season, guarding the paint and the corner 3 by playing drop defense with Brook Lopez. But playing that way against great shooters...
I just connected Claude with Airtable, and now I have this competitive research agent that
like Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and Goran Dragic was a death sentence, and Budenholzer's inability to make adjustments cost them the series. And even though Milwaukee won Game 4, Giannis went down with an ankle injury, and their season was effectively over, with Miami advancing after 5 games. In the other Eastern semifinals matchup, it was much closer between the Celtics and the defending champions from Canada. But it didn't look like the series would be close at first, as the Celtics took a 2-0 lead and held a 2-point advantage in Game 3, with only 0.5 seconds left on the clock. But it's not over till the Fat Lady sings, and the Celtics learned...
Give me 1 second. No, into Fortnite.
that the hard way.
Got it! OG Anunoby at the buzzer!
The Raptors eventually pushed the series to Game 7. But in the end, Boston proved that they were a better team, as Jason Tatum led them to victory with 29 points and 12 rebounds. In the Eastern Conference Finals, the Celtics and the Heat were evenly matched up, and the winner of this series was going to be the team that wins close games. In Game 1, Miami had a 2-point lead, but Boston had a chance to tie, when Bam Adebayo stepped up and provided one of the best blocks in NBA playoff history.
Bam says, get it out of here! Adebayo, sky high with the block and rejection.
In Game 2, Boston had a chance to tie the game with 15 seconds to go. But Brown's shot missed, and the Heat survived another game.
Yes, shit, excuse me.
Game. After the first 4 contests, Miami won 3 games by a combined 11 points. Thanks to great defense and balanced scoring, the Heat had 6 players score in double figures, with 4 averaging more than 19 points in the series. Each game, somebody different shined for Miami. And with such a versatile offense, they advanced to the NBA Finals after 6 games, despite Boston scoring more total points in the series. In the Western Conference Finals, the Lakers were heavy favorites against the Nuggets, and they proved the expectations in Game 1, comfortably winning thanks to 37 points by AD. But the Nuggets proved their resilience in Game 2, and it looked like they were going to tie the series, with a 1-point lead and only 2 seconds remaining. But then, Anthony Davis stepped up again, making the biggest shot of his career.
Here's Davis, 4-3 in the win. Oh, it's good! Anthony Davis has won it for the Lakers!
Just looking down at the jersey and coach telling us, it's just a constant reminder of that, Kobe's with us and we kind of have his spirit in those jerseys.
And even though the Nuggets won Game 3, that was all they could do against a more talented team, in a series that will be remembered by Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee taking turns in muscling up Jokic. AD led all players in scoring with 31 points, while LeBron added 27, 10, and 9 to make his 10th NBA Finals, trailing only the legendary Celtics' Bill Russell and Sam Jones. But even though the Lakers had the two best players in the playoffs in LeBron and Davis, in the finals against Miami, the Heat had an advantage everywhere else. Out of the best 8 players in that series, 6 played for Miami, and the finals were supposed to be extremely close. But the hope for that only lasted about 24 minutes, until Goran Dragic injured his Achilles. Even though Jimmy Butler was Miami's best player, and Bam Adebayo was their best defender, while Hero and Robinson made crazy shots from the outside, Dragic was Miami's engine and their leading scorer in the 2020 playoffs. To make things even worse, Bam Adebayo also got hurt in Game 1, and without 2 of their 3 best players, Miami's chances dropped drastically, and the Lakers easily won the first 2 games of the finals. But in Game 3, Jimmy stepped up, playing one of the best games in finals history. Butler made 14 out of 20 shots to finish with 40 points, along with 11 rebounds, 13 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Even though he was never really considered a top 5 player in the NBA, Jimmy Butler showed he was one of the most versatile players in NBA history during the playoffs. He served as the first, second, or third option, adjusting to the opponent and changing roles like an Oscar-winning actor. Sometimes he was the primary ball handler, sometimes he was the leading scorer, and sometimes he played off the ball. He made sacrifices on defense and guarded Giannis, Tatum, and LeBron throughout the playoffs. When the Heat couldn't score, Jimmy would drive into the paint and draw a foul. He was setting screens, running the fast break, literally everything. But that Game 3 of the finals was his masterpiece, especially since he won the game for Miami without Bam and Dragic. Butler became only the 3rd player in finals history to have a triple-double with 40 points.
Today I'm going to make a beat for Skrilla. He's been on a
along with LeBron and Jerry West. In Game 4, Adebayo returned, but despite a valiant effort, the Lakers proved too strong, winning 102-96 and getting 1 win away from another championship. But in Game 5, Jimmy showed up again, trading buckets with LeBron all night long. Butler had another triple-double with 35 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists, and 5 steals, while LeBron finished with 40, 13, and 7. Both players played exceptionally well in the fourth, pulling their teams to victory with every atom of strength. Butler put the Heat in front with 2 clutch free throws, but LA had the final possession and a chance to win the title. LeBron drove to the basket with 4 defenders on him and then smartly decided to pass the ball to an open Danny Green.
Green for 3! Off the mark, no good! Markieff Morris has it, throws it inside and throws it out of bounds!
James was heavily criticized for passing up a potential game-winning shot, even though he made a smart basketball play, and despite scoring 12 points in the fourth, along with 7 rebounds and 2 assists. However, the King wouldn't be denied for much longer. In Game 6, he made 13 out of 20 shots, finishing with 28 points, along with 14 rebounds and 10 assists. LeBron led the Lakers to victory and the championship.
And that's it, it's over. This historic 2020 NBA championship belongs to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Deservingly winning the Finals MVP, averaging 29.8 points, 11.8 rebounds, and 8.5 assists, while shooting an insane 59% from the field and 42% from 3. And even though many people looked at this championship with an asterisk, some even calling it the Mickey Mouse title,
I gotta say it's a little bit easier. I mean, when you look at the fact that they are on one ground, they're not having to get out and do any traveling.
These people are blind to some very hard facts. Number 1, the Lakers didn't have an advantage over any other team in the bubble. Yes, LeBron was older and he benefited from not having to travel, but so did every other player in the bubble, and everybody played under the same rules and conditions. Number 2, the Lakers had the number 1 seed, and if the pandemic didn't happen, they would have the home court advantage throughout the playoffs, meaning that the bubble was actually a bigger disadvantage for them than for the other teams. And number 3, this championship was harder than any other because of the isolation from family and friends, as the Lakers and the Heat spent more than 3 months in the bubble. When you add in all the testing, quarantine, and a near strike in the middle of the playoffs due to the fight for social justice, this championship should indeed have an asterisk for being much harder to win than any other. Nobody could have predicted the pandemic happening, and the Lakers proved that they were the best team, like they were all season long. Coach Vogel deserves the credit for getting LeBron to buy into playing defense, something he did very sporadically in the previous couple of seasons, highlighted by the Kuzma push from 2019. The Lakers went against the grain and played with the tallest lineup, when the rest of the league played small ball. And it paid off, since they killed teams with offensive rebounds, closing the paint, and pushing the ball in transition. Anthony Davis played one of the best playoff series for any big man in NBA history, averaging 27.7 points, 9.7 rebounds, and 3.5 assists per game, shooting 57% from the field and 38% for three, while simultaneously being the best and most versatile defender in the league, able to guard all 5 positions on the court. The Lakers' role players had many faults, and they weren't a great shooting team, but they played their butts off, with Rondo proving his insanely high basketball IQ, Dwight Howard resurrecting his career with great effort and rebounding, while Caruso, KCP, and Danny Green played phenomenal perimeter defense. And at the age of 35, LeBron proved that despite losing a quarter of a step, he was still the best player in the NBA, capable of controlling the pace of the game, getting the best out of his teammates, and taking over scoring when it mattered the most. Despite the global pandemic that affected the lives of every person on the planet and the social injustices that occurred during that time, the NBA bubble was a success. Adam Silver once again proved that he was one of the best commissioners in sports history, capable of adapting to any situation and getting the best possible outcome for the league and its players. The 2020 season was the longest, one of the most eventful, and most challenging seasons of all time. But despite all the hardships and tough losses, the NBA persevered. We saw great basketball, shocking upsets, numerous playoff game winners, 50-point games, and championship mentality from the biggest superstars. And that's why the 2020 season will remain one of the most memorable seasons in NBA history. Thanks for watching. And if you like this video, we have another
I ain't gonna lie. Barely watched some of the games, but highlights of seeing them clips because I was working during the time. Ooh. Let's see. I think during the time, I ain't gonna lie, I'm some fried shit right now. But during the time, I want to forget it. Can't even remember right now. I'm not on. I got a whole test tomorrow. Already sleepy, chat. I ain't gonna lie. Damn. But I'm gonna switch to the kick though. I'm gonna take a little short stream. Excuse me. And get ready for tomorrow. Excuse me. But I'll catch y'all.